Madam?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, all of you. Welcome you all for the day 2 of the 6 days FDP on key technologies driving fourth industrial revolution. I feel very happy to welcome our chief guest, Mr.P.Balasubramanian, Vice President, iOPEX Technologies, Chennai. He was a computer science graduate of University of Madras in 2001, and he did his post-graduation in software systems from BITS Pilani in 2005. He started his career in CSS car, and he possessed various roles starting from senior system engineer, senior project manager, director, and senior director in CSS car. Then he moved on to as global head customer support in Japan during 2015-16. From October 2018, he is a vice president of iOPEX Technologies. He is responsible for consulting, digital transformation, robotic process automation, cognitive automation, machine learning analytics, product engineering, product support, and DevOps. He was a recipient of various awards such as State Person of the Year, Best Project Manager, and Galaxy Award. Today, he will deliver the keynote address on key technologies driving fourth industrial revolution. Welcome you, sir. Prasanna, sir.
Yes, sir. Over to you, sir. You can start your session, sir.
Okay. Thanks, madam. I think that was a very good introduction. Even few of them, even I have forgotten what I have been doing so far. So just let me know, when you're able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
So he's Shiva Ramani, who is our CEO, and right now our strategy or vision has changed in the last few years. The whole world is getting into the digital transformation. So when I say digital transformation, a lot of human work or the repetitive work kind of getting transformed or translated into automation. So that's where the whole world is moving towards. So once the automation is done, what is next? So that's where see, automation is nothing but the repetitive task or something what people are doing, and that is getting translated into an automation form. And then there is a human intelligence that comes into picture where a key decision needs to be made, and that intelligence, why don't we make machine to learn from the pattern and make the decision on its own. That's called as a cognitive automation journey. We have a lot of successful stories, with our customers. Take any telco customers, they are customers of ours. So, from a technology perspective, just to give you an overview, what are the technologies that people have to focus on, in terms of cognitive or AI, MLTs, it could be a Python, R programming, Microsoft Luis, Alexa, Amazon machine learning, and there is a Google, cognitive piece, TensorFlow, Keras framework, PyTorch, Theano, things like that. And also there are a few other products that we develop, which is built on Kibana, Elasticsearch, Azure, Microsoft .NET platform, Docker, Kubernetes, Redis, those kind of things. So and if you look at from the database side, there are like Hadoop, Kafka, Spark, Ruby on Rails, and React, those kind of things. From automation space, it's Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, UiPath, Pega, and systems. So before, as I mentioned earlier, machine learning or the emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, or the cognitive piece, the predecessor of this particular thing is RPA. So when people do pursue their engineering degree, the main problem with our kind of thing is they think only about the technology, but there are other two key areas where people have to focus on, which are non-technical skill areas. So I can give you an example. like a business analyst or a consultant, those kind of people, when they earn like almost 1.5 times of the technical people, because they bring in more value onto the table for the business. And there are companies like Deloitte, KPMG, ENY, or Accenture for that matter, where they have a process consulting people. And this process consulting people earn 1.5 times of what the technical persons are earning. So how this process consulting, or the business analyst people helps the businesses to take any transformation framework. The transformation framework has 7 stages. uh, the 7 stages again grouped into 3 groups. The first phase is a discovery phase, second is solution phase, and third is the execution phase. So discovery phase is where the key consultant or the business analyst plays a vital role in terms of uh, say for example, there is a big industry. We can take an insurance company or a HDFC bank or any kind of banking domain. Where they will be doing a claim management, or they have to do some kind of a paperwork which needs to be key into the system. There are a lot of back office work which are being done. So if you look at any kind of BPO type of organization, maybe it could be a call center as well. So, but what people will be doing is, they'll be receiving a complaint from the customer and they'll be resolving a query. That's one case. Second case is like, they'll be receiving a document, they'll be seeing a document, and they'll be updating the values from the document into the respective ERP system. So, this is kind of like a repetitive pattern, right? So, what it looks like is, the consultant or the what very good in communication and presentation and enterprise, presentation as well. They'll be going and they'll be seeing, what these people are doing. So they'll be doing some kind of a recommendation by doing a process study. Okay, you have 100 people in your company, and these 100 people are doing this work. And if you can optimize this piece of work, instead of 100 people, you can actually 80 people to make it happen. Say for example, one person may be doing 10 steps to complete an activity, and the other person may be doing 4 steps to complete an activity. So though the person who is doing 4 steps, he may be like less efficient, but if you look at it from time saving perspective, or from a process perspective, he is able to complete the task and he is able to take more workload. So we have to take that as an example and implement that for other people. So that is what we call it as process consulting work. Person who can actually oversee what others are doing and see, identify where the gaps are, and correct them, like you have to do in this way, and then make them more efficient. So we call that as a value added activity and non-value added activity. So that is something what we have to do in analysis stage. And once you identify that and correct the process recommendation, then you have to identify where the automation can be done. Say for example, like, when people are updating the same set of documents in one particular stage, for that a person is not required. For that, you can introduce an automation piece, and where the automation piece can take the digital document and update their respective system. So that is what is been coming out from an recommendation perspective, from a business analyst or from a process consultant perspective. So what they will do is, they will prepare a business plan, and they will present this to the management or to the client stakeholder, like this is what you guys are doing, and you have 100 people and you are getting things done in 30 days, and this is my recommendation in 2 stages. Stage 1, you do a process optimization. You can do this with 80 people in 20 days. And second, if you introduce an automation piece, you can do this with 20 people in 10 days, because a piece of code which is a robot can do things in 24/7. There is no rest is required. All that you need is a few technical people to manage the code and a few people to monitor the stuff. Okay, so that is what a recommendation will be given as a business case, and people will definitely there will be a factor from a company perspective, and this is what all the industries are heading towards. So wherever they have a cash crunch, wherever they have a business loss that is happening, So they call us and we go there and we do a system study and we convert, their losses into profit by doing an optimization in the process. So that entire exercise, is done by a consulting and by a business analyst people. So what I would recommend, from the upcoming people or from the upcoming talent is, don't just focus only on the technology. Yeah, of course technology plays a major and vital role, but there are other cases, people who may be not good in programming, but they are really good in presentation and analysis. They can choose this path, and they can improve their communication skill and the presentation skill, putting a colorful PPT and things like that. And they can choose this career between these two, right? And so the second part is like, once we present something, then there comes an engineering part where people have to implement this and get things done, and show a small piece of demo, and make sure that people agree, like this is possible. Because when you go and implement this automation piece for any non-technical company, be it insurance or be it banking domain, they don't believe this, because they think like software cannot replace human. So we have to demonstrate what a software is capable of doing it. And once we get a convincing factor from the process owner or business owner, then go and implement that in a large scale. So there are companies, large telco companies, where they have started doing this in a small piece. So I would say like it's kind of like 100K US dollars, but now they are spending or investing more than $10 million on this particular thing. So that their investment is going to be like 100 million dollar profit is what is they're going to get after doing all this. So any questions so far on this particular presentation or on this particular slide? Okay, I'll move on to the next one. um, so as I said earlier, monitoring and automate and orchestrate, then there comes an cognitive piece. First is monitoring, what are the activities people have to monitor. User experience monitoring, and they have to monitor the business process. If there is an insurance claim, what are the stages that particular process has to travel, and where we have to do one approval stage, those kind of things. And the third one is like application monitoring. Sometimes you might be having a application that is developed legacy. So when an automation piece is being done on that particular application on top of it, the application will not perform as expected, the automation will fail. Naturally there will be a complaint that will be coming from the people like an automation has failed. But if you really look at it, it is the legacy system, which is not stable, that's causing the problem. So we have to monitor that and have to prepare a business use case, like the robot will not work, if your system is not stable, those kind of things. The second, the last one is data center and network infrastructure monitoring. Of course, you have to monitor the robots, and you have to monitor the robots deployed infrastructure as well. Make sure that the system is perfect and smooth. There should not be any CPU crunch, or there should not be any RAM crunch, or there should not be any hard disk space crunch. So once everything is monitored and everything, and that's what the particular business analyst or process consultant will be doing. The second step will be to automate and orchestrate. So automate is something like based on the use case. You have to define like what are the steps the robot will perform, and what are the steps that needs to be handed over to the human for a decision making. So for certain cases, decision say a value is 50. Sometimes based on the customer's performance we'll say yes, based on customer's performance we'll say no. So those kind of decisions will be given to the human, and that's where we will start the automation process. And the third one is like the business intelligence, where uh, you know um, instead of human deciding certain things, the robot will find how the humans are making decisions. And then you have to bring out a data model. From the data model you can say like when this is 50 for this particular customer on this parameter, move forward with the decision. Yes. And same thing, no same addition or the logics will be built behind the scene. um, so typical engagements, on software industry, how it starts is like, readiness. That's where, we'll engage the project manager. For beginners, it will take some time to get the project manager's management string. It will take minimum, 4 years, but according to the industry standard, it will be like 10 to 12 years. But people, I have seen people, who have grown to a project manager level in 4 to 5 years frame. Commitment, working hard, and making sure that they deliver right results and right business benefit for the people. So that's readiness. Second one is POC. Where that comes, the process owners or the process consultant or the BA, they work hand in hand, and they jointly present the business case, then deliver the end result and support. So support is the maintenance activity, which again, there will be a business involvement and a developer involvement, which will be very minimal. Many people think like support is not kind of a learning activity, but support is the place where people can learn more. In the sense, like they'll be seeing a lot of code that is coming into production. They can debug and they can fix things. They will get a huge learning opportunity, in the sense like to see what many other developers are developing a particular stuff. So in this particular case, will have to be open for 24/7, because most of our business are working for US customers and UK based customers, right? So people have to be really, really adaptive in nature, to this one. And once they know the subject and solve it, then there will be a luxury, and there is no looking backwards. So how to identify the right potential automation candidate, right? You have to look for process standardization. If you look for banking or insurance, there will be process standardization, how the claims being made. Look at the target systems, legacy, stability of the systems, a number of exceptions that are thrown from the system. Process per se, or be it from a system quality per se. So, for example, like there could be like a system which may be uh, say legacy system. It may be throwing in a lot of exceptions when there is a lot of users are accessing. So we need to capture system exceptions as well, and there could be business exceptions. As I said, what if a claim is more than this value? It has to go to a particular approval mechanism. So we have to identify this and identify the process complexity, and identify the volume. Of course, volume plays a major important role, because I don't think people can automate or propose an automation solution for just 4 or 5 people worth, and we have to look at the volume and throughput and the industry benefits as well. So this is how we identify, and these are the few checklists how we can categorize the automation stuff, and what are the typical areas how automation can be done. So this is a kind of an end-to-end scale. If we take any applications, these are the modules that will be available in the market, and few of the CXOs, what is their expectation? If I'm a COO, I need something delivered faster and better services with greater productivity. So if I am a CIO, then I look for a scalability and flexible digital systems to support operations at optimal cost. Similarly, from a CFO perspective, security and compliance, and from a CEO perspective, it is to be an advantageous and with an good margin and profitability, will be my primary objective. So and of course, the entire thing needs to be developed on an agile model. So Scrum is one, and where people have to deliver things in a shorter span, so that people can see result. If they want to clear up something, they can clear up something in a shorter span of time, instead of working on a traditional model where they have to wait till things are completed. So here they can see the results then once in 2 weeks or per week schedule, and see how things are progressing. And this is a process, process which the business analyst, the soft skill people, and the technical people has to learn. How a particular project is being structured, how a user story or a epic or a task has been defined, and how the role comes into picture. And there is a scrum master role, and there is a team participants, and what are the meetings that they have to participate. Kind of like a scrum jargons people have to learn, so that when they get into the industry, they exactly know what people are talking about, and they can adapt to that environment pretty easily. So that's about automation journey, which is the first half. Any questions so far on the automation front, or from a discovery front, or from a technology perspective? Okay. Before I conclude, more to the machine learning part. What are the skill sets that I need to develop to become a process consultant, right? I need to know PowerPoint, and I need to know Excel, Word. These are really mandatory skills, and I need to know how I can present a data effectively. So, see, for document, you can throw all the details from a presentation point of view. It should be minimal and it should be pictorial, and it should convey, what users are looking for, right? And that's on the consulting or BA side. Whereas on the automation side, people has to know Blueprism, automation anywhere, and UiPath. They are the industry leaders. It is pretty easy to learn this tools from a learning perspective. People can learn this tool and they can implement RPA. And I think few of your students are also working in your company as well. They have joined as a fresher, but now they have been scaled to an automation engineer and developer, and they're performing really well in terms of result, and the customers are really happy. So people have to learn few of the flow diagrams here, how it works, and because all the RPA softwares are based on workflows. So people have to understand the basic sense of how the workflow works, and how to handle the exception handlings, and how to make sure that when something goes wrong, how things can be handled by a human. And also they need to have a common sense of how to resume the work once the humans are making the decision. So it's a end-to-end thing, starting from a consulting to the development, and from a PPT to a UiPath or automation anywhere or Blueprism. So these are the few things that people have to scale as a beginner. Any questions? Okay.
Sir, you can proceed, sir, because they are watching in live streaming. At the end, we can have this, sir.
Okay, no problem.
Ah,
Thanks. So this is the the crux of the session. So people who are really good in programming, and I would recommend they can choose this particular path. And people who are like kind of good in studies and kind of average in programming, I will not recommend this particular area. Thing is like they have to be skilled in terms of doing programming, then they can move on to this particular part. So again, even for a machine learning, the consulting part is really important. And where people have to come back and they have to say like this is a business problem and this is how you have to solve. There are a lot of use cases from a machine learning perspective. Say for example, a invoice that is coming in, right? And some of the first kind of invoices, they will be low. I mean, the resolution will be very low, which we call it the DPA. And from a OCR perspective, industry leaders, the DPA should be like 150 or 90. So when the DPA is low, a lot of open sources or a lot of technology, I mean, the OCR stuff that are available in the industry, they will be not able to recognize the characters that are there available on the PDF. So that's where we place of machine learning techniques. So for example, if you have a word total, TOTAL, the O can be interpreted as zero, number zero, and it can be interpreted as C, inverted C, or reverse C. But when it comes for TCTOL, then the machine learning will say like this should be read as total, not the how it is being recognized from the OCR perspective. So that's a small example, and there are a few other use cases like I can read things from the images and I have to translate that. For example, like there could be a group photo, and I have to recognize how many people have been attending this particular conference or meeting. Or I have one of the use cases where the food manufacturing industry giant, they came up with use cases. They are going and selling their products village by village, and they're taking the image, I mean photos, and wanted to make sure that how many male and female folks are attending that, so that they can target right food products. So more females are coming, then they have to target the female related products. If more men are coming, then they have to target like men related products. So that's how the machine learning and other things are moving on. And there could be a camera and which will be capturing images. I think the whole world is changing now. People doing a CCTV camera and watching who is coming and who is not coming. But the entire stuff can be plugged with the machine learning component, where the particular images will be sent to the machine learning in a live streaming mechanism. They can see if there are any intruders that are coming in, and you can actually give an alarm. Say, somebody is entering into the house. But that can be automated using the algorithm component that we have. So the first one is like accurate. Accurate is nothing but the more and more data that you feed into the system will deliver results accurately. So the minimum scale of data that we need to collect for this particular thing is going to be a year data. So when I talk about data, then there comes another scale, where people have to work on, big data techniques, Hadoop, Hive, Spark, those kind of technologies. So they also need to know how the live streaming of data that is coming in. So it's another huge area, where technical people can leverage their skill, and how this data can be, queued. So most of the raw data that is coming into the system, that has to be transformed so that it becomes a human readable or a business readable data. That's what it be done in a curated section, where you will be doing a deep learning, you will be doing a supervised learning or unsupervised learning, and you will say that this is what it is. For example, like recognizing how Apple will look like, those kind of things. And I'm sure many of them know about Alexa. Uh, so how Alexa recognizes, or Google voice recognizes if somebody says something. So there is a lot of training that happened behind the scene. Whatever people are asking, if something is not able to recognize, it actually goes back to the agent, and the agent will recognize this is the one, and they will feed the Alexa what they have to respond. So that's why the Alexa component itself is a internet-based solution, or Google Home is an internet-based solution. And when all these particular things are once it is teached, like this is the response, then it goes automatic. When it is not able to answer something, then it will be it is taught by an agent behind the scene once, and the second time and the same question is being asked by somebody in a different geographical location, then it exactly knows what it has to answer, and it answers. So there are different layers of it. There is a rule engine and a base model, and we have to have a training model. So all this the data that is being generated from the raw data, we call it as a training data model. And once the model is done, then the model has to be updated incrementally, based on the real-time experiences, so that it can handle any kind of situation that is coming in. So some of the
Sir,
technologies, yeah.
sir, excuse me, sir. Sir, a little bit more. Your voice is not audible for some people.
uh, is it audible for you?
Yes, sir. Now it is okay. Okay.
Okay.
Ah.
So what I mean, I can reiterate what I said just before. So one is like the data collection part, and the second one is data modification or data massaging or data curate. And once we translate the raw data into a readable format, second is we have to analyze the data. So we have to analyze and we have to bring out a data model. And once the data model is delivered, using the data model, you can actually bring out your own widgets, or you can identify whatever you want to do. So one example is let's assume that um, I'm getting a lot of Apple images, and Apple images, I can take the photo from the tree, I can take a single apple, I can take a group of apple, and the apple will be in different shapes and sizes, right? And this is something what I have to curate, and I have to give it to the next stage. And analysis is the part where I have to make sure the system knows that this is an apple type of images. Once I identify that, then I store that in the database. So now in the database, I'll have tons and tons of Apple related images in a different format. And when I now feed in a new Apple image using the data model that I have already constructed, I would be able to compare this image and the data model and say this is an apple or a mango. So I gave Apple as one example and image processing as one example, but there is another side which is called a text processing. So I will be giving a lot of raw data, and from the raw data, I should be able to read or get a meaningful information. And from the meaningful information, I have to construct a data model which will be relevant to the user. For example, like um, uh, you can take a US police department, right? So what they will be doing is like they will be recognizing some kind of a pattern of who are like the new immigrants that are coming for a particular area, and what will be their name, and passport numbers and other stuff. So they will know like when a person coming from this region based on the past incident data, they have to know like okay, this person seems to be suspicious and this area needs to be watched. So those kind of tracking will happen on the fly based on the data massaging and the data manipulation that we are doing, and the data model that will be created. And based on the data model, now even comes in because of the intelligence that is already there. Using data model, people can actually compare whether this particular person is suspicious or not. So the classical example is 9/11. Um, there's something called WOFA community, those kind of things. So all these data models are constructed based on the data, based on the name, passports, and the region where they're coming from. So this is another different kind of a machine learning model, using textual things. So the typical technologies used on this particular thing, it has an end-to-end thing. You can pick up any technology that you want to, and TensorFlow, Snowflakes, Keras, Stan, Lambda, Amazon machine learning, which is again built on top of AWS, and all these things lead to a development kind of a technology. So one is like we saw about the process analyst job. The second is the data analyst job, where people have to be strong in the data analyst area. The third is a programming part, and the fourth important part is DevOps. So in the DevOps, what people's main responsibility is, they act as a bridge between a developer and the IT. Okay, so what they will do, I have completed a data model, and I have completed a program. Now it has to go into production. So I can deploy the same thing into the production, and I can give a live URL. People can go and they can do stuff, and they can play with that. Okay. But in this particular case, there's a problem in the production. DevOps engineer goes there, look at the code, and see what is wrong. They coordinate with the development team, or they coordinate with the IT people. Where the exact problem is. So this particular people, even we can call it as a build engineer, but DevOps people role doesn't stop with the build. They will do a troubleshooting, and they will also fix some problems with respect to infrastructure. And if there is an infrastructure issue, then it will be handed over to IT. So the fifth stage is going to be the infrastructure people, where they will be too good in terms of system administration, right? And they have to monitor the system, and if there are any issues in terms of CPU utilization or anything, they have to throw more hardware, and they have to see how load balancing has to be taken care and everything. That's where Jenkins, Docker, those kind of technologies are coming into picture. So from an ETL perspective, from a broad category, what are the different types? First you identify the types of data and see how data adapters can be built. And once the adapters are built, how data lake storage is. Data lake is something like a lake where you'll be pouring out all the data into that particular storage, which is really huge size in nature. From the data lake, then streamline into data warehouse, it will be further massaged, and then you have a data governance structure. So when we deal with the data, especially data security is another important area which will be people's focus area as well. So for example, like the European Union region, they're very particular, like that data doesn't go out of their country or their continent. Same thing with UK and same thing with US. So we need to make sure that something is we are doing on that particular region, the server has to be based in that region. That's where cloud people come into picture, like AWS, GCP, or Amazon. They have their own servers located in different regions of world. So when we have this particular constraint, this servers is there, and we can place the data in that particular location. And we also need to make sure that data security is taken care with the different OAuth mechanism or LDAP and those kind of things. And the whole architecture now is being built on microservices, which will be a self-contained functionality, and you can build your own data visualization approach, a simple chart representation. And analytics is something like comes on top of it. You are analyzing the data and presenting it in a readable format, right? So typical architecture, how it looks like, it's a little bit of complex, but from a typical ML technology standpoint, how a typical technical architecture looks like, how the accurate stage, how a data organized stage, and how a data analyst stage, how it is being delivered. So some of the components are log collection, IoT feeds, video, audio, images, as I said. And from a database perspective, I can use NoSQL, I can use Cassandra, I can use Redis, I can use MongoDB, I can use Couchbase, and SQL, of course, you guys know about MySQL, Oracle SQL Server, and things like that. From my ERP systems, there are a lot of huge memo systems that are available in the market, and they also, spit out a lot of logs. How these logs are being, captured, and how it is transformed, and normalize it, how the data are being normalized is another important factor. So once everything is done, how the data modeling is being done. So this is where people have to really learn about data structure and data modeling. And I'm sure many of them hate the subject called discrete mathematics, but that particular thing plays a vital role in terms of defining this particular algorithm. If you really understand the core crux of this particular subject, you will really love this particular programming, because you know what you're doing. And there is something called a DNA, design and analysis of algorithm. So you need to know, like which starting algorithm or which algorithm needs to be used for which type of data, so that you can do you can get it efficiently. So for example, like people, when I say sorting, people will be using a bubble sort, but there are a lot of other sorts available. But bubble sort works only for one sort of nature. But there are other areas where this sort will not work. So we need to have sorry people have people would be knowing that uh, which sorting algorithm should be used for which type of data. So that is another thing comes out in the DNA paper. So that is one important thing that we have to definitely learn and understand. Unfortunately, when I studied engineering, I didn't know that this particular thing has such a great value. So one of my boss, I think he is from IIT. So he asked me, like, this particular thing comes in this particular book. So I went back, I studied the whole book once again, and I implemented this. So I think getting a right guidance and right direction is really important at this stage. So our engineering syllabus, all the books or papers that comes to us will be practically used, when you get into the industry. So it will be really good that if you guys understand core crux and then deliver things. And there are a few other things that I don't know how people know about how Google search engine works. They call it as a Google Spider. It goes to all the website, it captures all the data, indexes the data, and feeds into the database. Then when you do a keyword search, based on the index, the data will be populated. I'm sure the indexing that you guys have studied in a DB newspaper or RDB newspaper, it's pretty much at a high level, but this has been implemented in more detail level into the core operating system, so that Google is able to turn around results that quickly, and the ranking of sites is also really important. So our one of the research is when people or the competitors ask about a market research, right? So we need to do market research where people have to go to a different website and gather the data. So we build our own crawler. The crawler will go to a different website, gather the data, and pass the content. And from the content, it will be generating a white paper. So it's a pretty much like a Google concept, but not to that level. That's the at the beginner level. So we also have done something for the portal job acquisition. Say when people are searching jobs, right? Many people will go to Naukri or Monster, but half of them don't know how the jobs are getting into Naukri or Monster portal. So there are companies where they will publish their jobs only in the company website. So it is practically impossible for a person to get into the company website, capture all the details, and feed into their portal. So that's where automation comes in picture, where it will go crawler, Python crawler, it will go and fetch the data, parse the data, and feed the data into the appropriate fields of Node uh, monsters. So this particular thing we have done for one of the leading job portals in US. Same thing again. If you guys have Alexa, you have to explore how API of Alexa can be explored, and how we can leverage the APIs. And same thing with the chatbot. The data model that you are constructing for any kind of data that are coming in, you can also use a chatbot, conversational chatbot. How you can do this is like the model has all the intelligence, right? From the text that you have passed, you can ask a question, the bot can respond to the question from the data model that you have already constructed. But you need to construct the language dictionary so that the bot can respond. There are a lot of open sources available. I would recommend you guys can explore this data model, and the chatbots that are available in the internet, construct something and understand the core process, how it can be plugged in into your chatbot so that the intelligence comes in. So that's pretty much what I have. But I'm directly going to show some demo for kind of like a teaser. Okay. So this is the Versailles engine which I was talking about. If you look at this particular thing, we built that with open source, and a lot of components like Python, PHP, Google TensorFlow, and a few other open source models. Just taking some, yeah. So you can see the OCR construct here. I can train anything here. There's a vendor name. So when I select something, I can train like, this is the vendor name. I can say something like a invoice number, and I can say this is the invoice number, and this is the value. So once the training is done, it goes to the next stage. It will say like these are the fields that you have selected, and this is the value that you have gained, and the training is over. Okay. So why I do this? So I do this because for a one-time job, I can actually train this particular value. Then when similar PDF or similar invoice comes in, I can upload all the invoices into the system, and the system is going to read the data for me. And all this data reading or everything, the data corrections and the accuracy levels, everything will be taken care by the system. And I'm saving a lot of manpower. So this is one interesting piece. You can actually the other part I'm going to show you is an image processing technique. Can you give me a second? Let me get the directives name and password. Okay, well, I'm getting that. I'm going to show you another demo, which is a text analytics, data analytics platform. If you look at the UI and other things, that's another area what I will be telling to the people. Like, if you're good at drawing or anything, you should learn, the graphics design. It's another niche area where many people will not prefer, doing this activity, but so in the initial stages, I was talking about, the text analytics piece where, when there is a raw data, even I was giving an example, like, how US police identifies a particular person as suspicious. So this is based on this particular algorithm. It all comes like, tons of data, but if you look at it, it actually categorizes this, suspicious or something actual problem. Just double click that, you exactly know where the problems are. You can drill down to the bottom till to the person level. That's how the data is being constructed. And few other things that I want to show here. Okay, so there's something called the predictive modeling. So based on the past data, I can predict, like, which website is going to have a problem in the next 20 days. Or I can also predict, which Cisco router is going to cause me a problem based on the past data. So I will be having a 5 years of data, and based on the 5 years data, I will know, like, a switch will get into a failure when they get, this type of incident or this type of errors. So we analyze the pattern, and we come to a conclusion, like, these are all the issues. When it comes, then you can definitely for sure, like, the switch is going to die in the next year or so. So based on that, and with the current incident is coming up from a particular router or switches, we know, like, okay, this particular switch is throwing this incident. I think, it's the end of life. Then we have to replace. It's time to replace the switch. So that is what we recommend, and we give that as for a predictive modeling. I'm sorry, I think it's not loading here. And the data and other construct, if you look at it, uh, you can see, you can define a data model. So these are all, like, we have constructed the predefined data fields. So I can drag and drop, I can save it. So this is where, the raw data will be coming and stored. Once I have the raw data, and I have to tell, how the raw data is going to be retrieved, whether it is going to come from a cloud or SFTP storage, those kind of things. And then we have to construct a data model, like, how this raw data will be transformed into a data model. So I can see, like, some of the Salesforce tickets are coming in this one, and using this connection, and what, data structure I have to use, and when we have to use, and if I need to edit or delete, I can use this. So this particular tool also has a feature, like, I can create my own widgets, charts using the data sources that I have created. So it's a table. So I can change whatever I want to. So once I have everything, I can assemble everything and create a storyboard out of it, and how a typical storyboard will look like. So this is where user will be seeing how the storyboard will be seen. I think let me get the password for the image processing. That is going to be another interesting job. I guess we have some problem on the image processing, but I think we have a few minutes left. I'm leaving the session open for any questions or any clarification. Uh, so meanwhile, I'll get the username and password. Try to show them before that. If not, we can see this particular thing next time. But it's a fancy stuff, where you can see how the data is being read from my images.
Sir, we have one question, sir.
Sure.
There are different machine learning algorithms. How we are going to choose among them for a particular application, sir? Is there any standard approach? Is there?
Okay. Yes, there is a standard approach. That is what we have to do. As I mentioned, uh, DNA paper, right? A design and analysis of algorithm. So we need to make sure that we understand the core crux of the data that we are going to receive. For example, if I'm doing a incident management data or kind of like a ticketing data where it will be bound to a time. So then I have to do a time series analysis. If I'm going to use some other stuff for image processing or anything, then there are standard algorithms that are available which we have to use. So it is purely based on the data and what problem that we are going to solve. So for text analytics on the same incident data, time series may not be required. I have to use for a text analytics core algorithm. So what is the problem that I'm trying to solve, and what is the how is the data looks like, and what is the best algorithm that will fit here. And even that, I would say, when you arrive or when you answer all these questions, there will be 2 or 3 algorithms which you might be confused. Even with our experience, we will try both the algorithms in parallel and see which algorithm is giving the better results. Then we have to choose that, because the way in which how it works is a little different. So we have to make sure that some of the codes gives better result, or data model gives better result. So analyzing the data and identifying the problem and then choosing the algorithm.
Thank you, sir. One more question is there, sir.
Yeah.
Any real-time application platforms is there for streaming analytics like that?
See, okay, I can give you one example. That is called, forgot the name. I think it is omnichannel or something. Okay. There is something called, I don't know how many of them know about the media industry, online advertisement. So online advertisement, when you go to a cricket website, on top of it, you can see an ad banner that is coming in. So all these ad banners, needs to be tracked, which are nothing but a revenue for the advertising industry, right? And so such ad tracking are done on real time. So whenever when a person, for example, Flipkart is introducing their billionaires day sale, and I am browsing Flipkart for some other reason, and then I'm coming out of the website, and now I'm going and watching a cricket match or seeing a cricket score in cricket score. You can see the Flipkart ad that will be shown there. So how Flipkart will do is they'll be doing a live ad tracking. So based on that, they have to pay a commission to ESPN website that this particular customer has come via you. So this will be the amount they have to pay. So it'll look like a kind of a simple transaction, but on real time the hits are going to be huge and the revenue are going to be huge, because the values, the television industry is something like $18 billion, whereas the online advertisement is going to be like 70 or 80 million billion dollars. So that's the volume we are talking about. So such kind of bidding, those kind of things happens on a real-time analytical platform.
Thank you, sir. Madam?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And Sensex is one of the classical example, sir. So people has to see that as a real-time analytics that are being done behind the scene. So they can actually see the line going up and down for a particular stock, right? So that's a real-time data streaming. So one example is Xenon stock is one example. So there are many examples available in the market. You can have people to explore that.
Thank you for your enlightening session, sir, today. So we have gathered more information with respect to software engineering services, consulting, and RPA, process automation. Consulting framework, 7 stages of consulting framework: discovery phase, solution phase, execution phase, and how the RPA journey is there. Identifying right RPA candidates, digital automation workforce, agile DevOps model, what skills are needed for a consultant and RPA, approaches for industrializing machine learning and artificial intelligence, different stages, machine learning technology stack, big data technical capabilities, and what is the importance of data structures and data modeling. And then your case study and demo, everything was enlightening, and it was a very fruitful, informative session, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope this is helpful for the students as well. If they are watching, I think if they have any questions, you can collect the questions and share it to me, and I'll respond to that when I get a chance.
Definitely, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Participants, thank you very much. Tomorrow's session starts at morning 11 o'clock. Thank you.